Why does Christmas return every year, even when the world keeps changing? Why do people who say they do not believe in anything still feel something when December arrives? Why do cities spend millions on lights while so many hearts feel dark inside? If Christmas is only a religious event, why does it reach beyond religion? If it is only a tradition, why does it still carry emotion, memory, and pain? And if it is only about happiness, why does it remind us so clearly of what we have lost? So maybe the real question is not what Christmas is, but what part of us it keeps touching, again and again. The origin of Christmas. The story of Christmas begins far away from comfort. According to Christian tradition, Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem, not in a palace, but in a stable. There were no celebrations, no protection, no applause, only silence, animals, and two tired parents. This detail is not poetic decoration. It is the heart of the story. In the ancient world, birth defined value. Power came from bloodlines, wealth, and armies. To be born poor meant to live unseen. Christmas breaks that logic. It says that something meaningful can begin in places the world ignores. At first, early Christians did not celebrate Christmas at all. They focused on Easter, on resurrection rather than birth. Birth was considered ordinary. Death and rebirth carried more weight. It was not until the 4th century that December 25th became associated with the birth of Jesus. This date was not chosen because of historical certainty, but because of symbolism. Winter was the darkest time of the year. Food was scarce. Cold was dangerous. Life felt fragile. Many cultures already held festivals during this period to celebrate light, survival, and hope. Christian leaders did not erase those traditions. They transformed them. Christmas became a message placed directly into humanity's darkest season. The message was simple. Light does not wait for perfect conditions. Hope does not arrive when everything is ready. It appears when it is most needed. The birth of Jesus represented a quiet rebellion against the idea that only the strong matter. It suggested that humility could carry power, that love could exist without force, and that meaning could rise from obscurity. Whether one believes the story literally or symbolically, its impact is undeniable. Christmas did not spread because it was convenient. It spread because it spoke to people who felt small, unseen, and tired. And that is why, even today, this ancient story still survives. Because the world is still full of people standing in the cold, waiting for light. The meaning of Christmas. At its deepest level, Christmas is not about celebration. It is about vulnerability. The central image of Christmas is not a hero with a sword, but a child. A child represents dependence. A child cannot survive alone. A child trusts the world to be kind. This is a risky message. Most cultures admire strength, control, and dominance. Christmas does the opposite. It places value on softness. The story suggests that love does not need to overpower. It only needs to exist. This idea shaped the teachings that followed. Jesus spoke about loving enemies, forgiving betrayal, and caring for the poor. These were not abstract ideals, they were challenges. Because forgiveness costs something. Because kindness makes us vulnerable. Because love can be rejected. Christmas acknowledges this risk. It does not promise that love will be easy. It promises that love is necessary. Even for those who are not religious, these ideas remain relevant. Modern life rewards speed, success, and self-protection. Christmas interrupts that rhythm. It asks us to slow down, to notice others, to remember that we are not self-made. It also reminds us that pain and hope coexist. The Christmas story does not deny suffering. It begins inside it. There was political violence at the time. Families were displaced. Fear was normal. Hope did not erase fear. It entered it. That is why Christmas feels emotional. It allows people to hold two truths at once. Life is hard, and meaning is still possible. Christmas does not solve human problems. It reframes them. It says that love matters even when it cannot fix everything. That message may sound simple, but it is not weak. It is difficult to live by. It asks for courage without armor. And perhaps that is why people still return to it.
Christmas through time, from sacred ritual to human tradition. As centuries passed, Christmas evolved. Different cultures added their own expressions, not to dilute the meaning, but to make it livable. In Northern Europe, evergreen trees became symbols of life. They stayed green even in winter. They reminded people that endurance was possible. Candles represented warmth and guidance. Light became a shared language. Later, during the Industrial Revolution, Christmas shifted again. Cities grew, families became separated by work, time felt faster. Christmas became a moment to return home. Literature played a major role in this transformation. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol redefined the holiday for modern society. It focused less on doctrine and more on empathy. Scrooge was not punished by force, he was changed by understanding. That story reshaped Christmas into a moral pause, a moment where generosity mattered more than wealth. Then came Santa Claus. Based on St. Nicholas, he became a symbol of giving without judgment. Santa sees, but he also forgives. He gives not because people deserve, but because giving itself matters. In the modern world, Christmas became commercialized. This is often criticized, and rightly so, but even commercialization reveals something human. People do not buy gifts for strangers, they buy them for connection. The problem is not consumption itself, it is forgetting why we consume. Christmas survived wars, migrations, and crises because it adapted without losing its emotional core. It continued to offer a pause in time, a moment to remember who matters. Why Christmas still matters today, in a tired world. In today's world, Christmas exists in tension. It is joyful and painful. It is warm and heavy. Some people celebrate with full houses, others sit with absence. Empty chairs speak louder than music. And yet Christmas remains. Why? Because it allows honesty. It permits people to miss, to regret, to remember. It acknowledges that love leaves marks. Christmas does not erase loneliness, it reveals it. But revelation is not cruelty, it is recognition. When we feel the ache, it means we cared. Christmas also reminds us that time matters. Another year has passed. People have changed. Some did not make it. This awareness is uncomfortable, but meaningful. In a culture obsessed with distraction, Christmas asks us to feel. That may be its greatest gift. At its best, Christmas is not about perfection. It is about presence. Sitting together, listening, being human without masks. That is why Christmas still matters, not because it promises happiness, but because it allows truth. And in a tired world, truth is rare and valuable. When even war pauses, why Christmas truly matters. If Christmas were only a tradition, it would disappear when life becomes difficult. If it were only a celebration, it would not survive pain. But history shows something different. Even in the middle of war, Christmas has forced humanity to pause. One of the most powerful examples comes from World War I. In December 1914, soldiers on both sides were exhausted. They were cold, hungry, and afraid. They had been ordered to see each other as enemies. Then Christmas came. From the trenches, soldiers began to sing carols, not in anger, not as a strategy, but as memory. A familiar song crossed the battlefield, then another. Men who had been shooting at each other laid down their weapons. They climbed out of the trenches. They exchanged food. They shared cigarettes. They shook hands. For a brief moment, they remembered they were human before they were soldiers. No treaty forced this ceasefire. No command allowed it. It happened because something deeper rose above fear. That moment did not end the war, but it revealed something important. Even in the worst conditions, people still recognize each other. Christmas did not erase hatred, it interrupted it. And that interruption matters. Throughout history, Christmas has acted as a moral pause, a reminder that violence is not the final truth. This does not mean Christmas is naive. It does not deny conflict. It simply refuses to let conflict define everything. Christmas says, even here, even now, there is room for mercy. This is why Christmas carries weight. It has become a symbol of shared humanity, a signal that beneath uniforms, borders, and beliefs, there is something common. In modern times, we may not face trenches and rifles, but we live with other kinds of war: political division, social pressure, emotional isolation. We are taught to defend opinions like territory. Christmas interrupts that too. It invites people to listen instead of argue, to sit together instead of separate. It does not force agreement. It encourages recognition. The importance of Christmas lies here, not in perfect peace, but in the reminder that peace is possible. Not in the absence of conflict, but in the decision to pause. That pause is powerful, because when violence stops, even briefly, we see what remains. And what remains is always human. That is why Christmas endures, not because it solves the world, but because it refuses to forget what the world could be. What Christmas leaves behind. When the lights come down, when the music fades, and when the season quietly passes, Christmas leaves us with a question. Not about gifts, not about tradition, but about who we choose to be. Christmas does not ask us to be perfect. It asks us to be present, to remember that kindness matters, especially when the world feels harsh. It reminds us that even in darkness, light can appear, quietly, unexpectedly. That even in division, people can pause, recognize each other, and choose humanity. Christmas has lasted not because it is easy, but because it speaks to something essential: the need to belong, the courage to care, the hope that peace, even briefly, is possible. And perhaps that is enough, because as long as we still pause for Christmas, we have not forgotten what it means to be human.